Good morning. In today's video, I'll explain how India, with each passing day, which has the opportunity to play a big role in the present multipolar world, a role that will help substantially improve the lives of its 800 million poor people, has instead chosen to be a vassal nation of America. Now, when we talk of a multipolar world, there are three big things happening in the world today simultaneously. One, the global geopolitics has shifted from transatlantic, it has come to our region, which is Asia Pacific. And the second big change is that new emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, they are getting inducted at a rapid pace. And these technologies will help stabilize the global geopolitics eventually. And the third change is that the global monetary policy, which was set up after the Second World War, with the US dollar as the reserve currency and the US dollar payment system, is now under change. It's not being replaced, but it is being displaced. So this is the big thing that is happening. Now let me come to the event that I wish to talk about. On the 9th of May, it will be the 80th anniversary of the Victory Day parade in Russia. Russia happens to be India's time-tested strategic partner, and this parade is a big event for Russia. Its victory over Nazi Germany. And for this parade, the main guest is Chinese President Xi Jinping, which is understandable because Putin and Xi, they share a worldview, and they both, as two great powers, will be key drivers in steering this global geopolitics. And President Putin has personally written to Prime Minister Modi also, inviting him to lead the Indian delegation to the Victory Day parade. But Prime Minister will not go. Instead, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will be leading the Indian delegation to the Victory Day parade. And why he won't go, to Russia's disappointment? There are three reasons for that. One, Modi does not want to meet Xi Jinping more than is necessary. The last time he met was at the 16th BRICS Summit in Kazan in October 2024. It was necessary because India is a founding member of BRICS. And why he does not want to meet Xi Jinping is because India has decided to project itself to its own people that it's in a regional geopolitical competition with China, which actually it is not. Because the national powers of the two countries, India and China, there's a huge gap in that, a gap that is unbridgeable. The second reason is that, as I said, Xi Jinping will be the main guest, and going by the personality of Prime Minister Modi, he would not want to be at a place where he does not get the attention. Never mind the fact that Xi Jinping, he belongs to a country which is today a great power. He heads that country. And India, at best, can be called an aspiring major power, but actually is a geopolitical pivot, which is a very important role. Because, as I said, the global geopolitics has shifted to Asia Pacific. So it is here that all the three great powers, America, China and Russia, their main missions will be here in this region. Geopolitical pivot is that nation which can help all the three great powers to accomplish their missions. And India can do that primarily because of its two major advantages: geography and a huge market. And the third reason is that Modi does not want to go to Russia because that may displease Trump, President Trump. Now, India has a colonial mindset, which is a zero-sum game, a mindset that it shares with the colonial powers, the Western European nations. Take their case. The war in Ukraine is going on. Now, suddenly President Trump, once he comes in office, he decides to say that he will not be supporting NATO. and he wants the Ukraine war to end, and he starts direct talks with Putin. Obviously, the Western European nations, the EU nations are completely dazed, they are perturbed, and they actually go and announce countries like France, Britain, and Germany. They announce that they will be having their own deterrence and own war fighting capabilities against Russia, and they also announce a sum of $800 billion that they would like to spend. If they did not have a zero sum game mentality, what they would be doing is revive the dormant OSCE, which is the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. It has been lying dormant since 2010. What this could have done is, this organization is about indivisible security, not a zero sum game, because amongst the stakeholders in this OSCE is Russia also. So if you bring all the stakeholders inside the tent, then you have peace in the region. And that is the time that you build your deterrence and you build your war fighting capabilities. You need peace for that. But this is something the EU leaders did not want to do, because that would have meant the end of NATO. And they didn't want to do that. So instead, the Western press is praising it, it's lauding it. That Prime Minister of Italy, Meloni, she has gone to White House. She met up with President Trump yesterday, and she sought to make a deal with President Trump on behalf of Europe, the entire Europe. And look what she said. Her punchline was that she wants to make the West great again. A similar punchline of Make India Great Again that Prime Minister Modi gave in February 2025 when he had gone to meet President Trump, saying that America was basically indispensable. It is indispensable as a security partner for the European nations, and it is also indispensable for India under Prime Minister Modi, which of course is not the case, but that's a different story. So this is the mindset, and this is why, while the Russians and the Chinese are making all the effort to have good relations with India, especially Russia is making a lot of effort, which of course do not make it to the news, because if one listens to the commentaries of Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, it becomes very clear that in the present world order, the priority of Russia, of course, first is China, then it is looking at BRICS, then it is India. It gives importance to India because India is a member, both bilaterally important as well as a member of BRICS. And then, of course, it has the EEU vision, which is Eurasian Economic Union, and now it's expanding that into a concept which Sergei Lavrov spoke of as a greater Eurasian partnership, but it's still an idea there. So the Russians are also trying a lot. I mean, as far as the Chinese are concerned, it is very open, it's in the public domain that India is not keen to normalize relations with China more than is necessary. But as far as Russia is concerned, there are a lot of feelers which have been given in various domains by the Russians, which of course the Indian side has not responded, and the reasons perhaps are two, they say, and again these are excuses. What the Indian side is telling the Russian is that, look, we want the Ukraine war to be over first, and then we want the sanctions, the American sanctions on Russia to be lifted. Of course, it has nothing to do with all this. Why it has nothing to do with, as I said, India has chosen to be with the Americans. If you see all the statements made by Jai Shankar, it becomes very clear that India is committed now publicly to Mission 500. That means in the next 5 years till 2030, at the present bilateral trade, which stands close to $200 billion, it has to be increased to $500 billion. Whereas the target set with Russia is a mere $100 billion to 2030. All the things that we were getting good cooperation from Russia, whether it was energy, whether it was civil nuclear deals, or it was defense. Now that is shifting decisively towards the West. So that is all that is happening. So this is one thing. Second is, as we know that as far as India is concerned, it has not been able to do well in technology. In fact, when you look at 5G, all the hardware of 5G in India has come from abroad, and 5G is the foundation of artificial intelligence. Therefore, the entire artificial intelligence technology infrastructure is also coming from America and the West, primarily from America. When you look at this architecture, it has four components. It has data centers, which is for data storage and processing. Then it is compute resources. Then it is machine learning frameworks for your particular projects on which then you can build up your application models. And the fourth, of course, is the machine learning operations platform, which include the entire machine learning cycle from data preparation to model development, deployment, monitoring and governance. All this is coming, and most of it actually can come, instead of America, from Russia, which is our trusted partner. Many may not be aware that Yandex in Russia, it is a search engine, but beyond that, it is doing a lot of work in large language model. Yandex has its own GPT. Then Sberbank, which is Russia's largest bank, is doing a lot of non-banking services, which include cyber security, then LLM chats, and then also making of not only large language model but short language models as well. So I heard an Indian expert talk about that for computes we could go to Singapore. I mean, why go there? Why not Russia? So Russia can actually help, and why this is important is because in the next 5 years, during the present tenure of Prime Minister Modi, the technologies will get bifurcated, the internet will get split because of two reasons. One is cyber security, and the second is the standards of the new technologies. There will be different set of standards. Now let's talk of the global monetary policy. Now you see, BRICS today is the centerpiece of the vision of which is supported, and where the global south, 80% of the world, is now gravitated. It's a vision which is supported by other two great powers, which is Russia and China. BRICS is the centerpiece of that. BRICS today is about 40% of the world economy, has half of the world population, and it is to play a very big role. Of course, along with SEO, but BRICS will play an exceptional role. We've seen that today BRICS has 10 full members and it has 12 partner countries. Now, according to the rule of the BRICS, it is the 10 BRICS member which will take any decision by consensus. That means if there are more members, then the consensus gets diluted off. So when there are so many members and most then say that all right, a particular thing is to be done, then the one left out country will also be compelled to join the rank. So understandably, China, Russia and Iran, they are in favor of expanding. Brazil is in favor of expanding BRICS, whereas India is reluctant to do that. In fact, the 17th BRICS summit is to be held in Brazil in July. This will be a very important event, because one of the key things that BRICS is looking at, not only expansion, it is also looking at how a means to displace the US dollar as the reserve currency of the world. See, it's well established that the American economy is weak. It is not doing well. When you look at the national debt and the bond debt of America today stands at $29 trillion, for which in 2025 itself, it has to pay an interest of $1 trillion. And with the economy not doing well, obviously there is trouble in the days ahead for America and its economy, which is exactly why Trump is doing MAGA. But of course, most of the experts don't agree with the way he's doing things. That's a different subject altogether. So what is being proposed is, of course, trade in local currencies, and then also has been proposed, or even Brazil has spoken about, use of blockchain technologies and using each country's local payment system to trade in local currency. The whole idea is to move away from SWIFT and to see how much trade all the BRICS countries can do within themselves, leaving aside the US dollar. But India is not in favor of all this. India wants to continue with the US dollar as the reserve currency. Again, India then stands out in BRICS as the lone country wanting to do that, because more and more countries, as this matures further by 2030, we will see that with no signs of recovery of the US economy anytime soon in the short term, things can go back to the advantage of global south and the BRICS. And now listen to well-known American professor Jeffrey Sachs, who was invited by India to be at a platform where Prime Minister Modi and Jai Shankar both spoke.
India, and I know this is quite unpopular in India, but it's really true. India really needs normal relations with China. And India should appreciate this is a great civilization, and this is a country that's going to play a huge role in the world in the 21st century. I mean, a huge role in the world on all sorts of things, on culture, on economy, on technology, on global peace, an enormous role. India should play that role respectfully and carefully. And that means good relations with China. It means good relations with Russia. It means good relations with Europe. It means good relations with Africa. Yes, have good relations with the US, but don't be played by the US.
So the point to make here is that India, which is a global south nation, it is a global south nation. It can play a big role in global south. I have repeatedly said, has deliberately decided to be part of the global north, a global north which is today in complete disarray, led by America, which is not a good thing, which is not a good foreign policy for India. Thank you.